Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. I don't know what I'm going to call this show. It has something to do with how we play roles in other people's lives. A crazy story that happened to me about where I think it's us pushed out gets totally kind of blown apart. I look forward to people that really are devout, hardcore, always us pushed out. Because I do agree that there's a lot of us pushed out scenarios. I'm not trying to go down that path. I'm just saying I've done shows on it. I've got a slightly modified variant, if you will, to that, to the way I see it. But I don't want to debate. I don't want to argue. But I think this is one of those stories where was I us pushed out to this individual? And was this one of those situations where just by the way things played out, I actually really upset somebody. Really upset somebody. They did something crazy because of that upset. And because of what they did that was crazy, ended up saving a human life. What? Yeah. No. I mean it. So this was a great story. And he came back and told me the following day, mind you. Might have been a couple days. But came back and told me, this is what you did. Thank you. Gave me a hug, actually. So, let me take a couple steps back. Let's talk about one again. Let's keep this in the umbrella of this is how we affect other people's lives, especially when we start to live consciously, when we start to pay attention to how our thoughts and feelings and how we interact with others and how we're co-creating and how that's far bigger than just the concern about whether or not I've manifested my specific someone, whether I've manifested a larger income, whether I've manifested a new car, a boat, a house, whatever. A new ability. Now, in gymnastics, I'm able to pull off a double flip, right? Right, with a twist at the end. Whatever you're trying to manifest. We all play roles. We all are intertwined. What we do to another actually affects ourselves, and this is kind of how. This sort of ties into that. This kind of that larger thing. And this really is for my core audience. A lot of people will never find this video, unfortunately. But those of you that have found this video, either A, just tend to watch a lot of the stuff I do, which, that's great. Or B, I don't know. Some sort of a perfect thing has happened to push this to you. So let me get into this story. And this is, again, kind of illustrates something that I think is very powerful. And it came up weird in a weird way today, and it made me remember it. So back when I was younger, back when I lived in Tennessee, back in my radio days, when I was making horrible money doing radio, but I loved doing radio and it was fun, I was working for a grocery store. Chain was called Food City out there, part of a company called KVAT, KVAT, which is Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee. I don't know. I think the company's probably still in play, but whatever. There's only 3 states they were in. It was a reasonably small grocery chain, but they were out there. They're competing with Kroger, and Bilo was one of the ones out there, and trying to think. I mean, there's Walmart, obviously. You had all those different chains out there. Target, I think, existed somewhere around there. Small town in eastern Tennessee, right where the 40 and the 75 met. And it was good times, right? So while I was working there, and I was there for a few years, I think about 3 years, I kind of got promoted pretty quickly. I was moving through the ranks, heading on up to the big times, if you will, and at least if you can say that, relative to grocery. And as I was making my way up that and finally got to a position where I was like probably the equivalent of the number 3 person in the store as far as power and authority and what I was able to do and yada yada, right? I don't know. Maybe 4th. I don't know. Probably 3rd, but whatever. We were having a discussion in the office. It was the assistant manager and the manager. By the way, the manager and I were super tight. Assistant manager, they came and gone. They came and went. Me and the manager were tight. He hired me. He hired me back because I'd left to go back into radio and then came back. And he really helped push me through the system. Kind of actually got me into the assistant manager training program, oddly, before I left the state. That was really the direction I was going. So this guy was great. Him and I loved each other. I loved him. Like, I wanted to help him. Any way I could make him and his store more productive was a win for me. And I knew that. And I knew I had the store manager in my back pocket, and I never abused it, right? I was respectful of that. But at the same time, this assistant manager, we were having a discussion. He was kind of going in he was a pastor. So he was very very conservative. And I don't mean politically. I just mean in his ideologies, his mentality, his comfort level. I'm kind of a guy that likes to cuss and curse and, have fun, push the edges of the envelope a little bit, stir the pot sometimes, rock the boat a little bit. Nothing destructive, but I definitely like to get outside the comfort zone with myself and with others, right? It's just part of my nature. I like to shake it up a little bit. So we had one of those conversations. And he started kind of getting a little preachy, no pun intended, but he was. And in that preachiness, it started to kind of frustrate me, and it started to get me to a place where I was starting to cut him off and kind of wanted to put him basically in his place. Like, one, you're assistant manager, so you can't fire me, only he can, right? First off. Second off, you're kind of being jacked up a little bit, right? Like, I just don't think you're being right. So anyway, in the course of this entire conversation, I started calling him out, and I'm like, anything you want, Ken. Anything you say, Ken. Whatever you want, Ken. And I was just pushing his buttons. And that's unfortunately probably the most wicked I get. And it is not cool, by the way. But if I feel that I'm threatened or if I feel I need to attack, that's kind of how I tend to do it, is more of in a psychological warfare kind of way. So anyway, start pushing all these little buttons. Got him so pissed off. He got up, walked out of this teeny little office we were in, and it really was teeny. It was like big enough for two people to sit side by side in, and then deep enough where you could barely push your seat back, and then you're hitting a wall. So that was the office. So we're all scooched in there anyway. So he leaves. I pissed him off. Didn't want to, wasn't attempting to. That wasn't really my point. But it was more like I was calling him on his stuff, and I just, whatever. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. I wasn't thinking, it's how it played out. It is what happened. I didn't feel good about it. It wasn't one of those situations. It was just like, whatever. That's how it played out. And I wasn't going to let it stop me. Well, the way it played out, I don't want to ruin so much. I kind of want to let you find out the way I found out. So roughly a couple days later-ish, day or two, 3, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. He comes back into work, and he says, hey, Dan, you got a second? I go, yeah, what's up? What's up, Ken? And I wasn't mad at him. And I love the guy, actually. He was a really nice guy, had a wonderful heart. He was a pastor. Come on, he's close to God. Like, I can deal with that. I love that. That's right up my alley, right? But again, like ultra super tight conservative, like, come on, I got to shake you up a little bit, man, because that's ridiculous. So he goes, Dan, can we talk? And I said, yeah, totally. What's going on? So we kind of go into a somewhat private conversation, private location. And he told me, he goes, the other day when we had that talk in Bill's office, he goes, I was furious with you. I was so mad, in fact, that I left the office and I literally went and clocked out and went home. And there was like a part of me that wanted to apologize, and then there was a part of me that was like, well, you're being a jerk, really. I mean, so I didn't say anything yet. And he goes, and I want you to know that when I got home, my daughter was passed out on the floor, blue, because she had choked, couldn't breathe. And she had some problems. She had I forget exactly what it was, but she was ill. I think she was in a wheelchair. So she had managed to fall out of her wheelchair, and she was not breathing. She was blue already. He told me, had I not got home when I did and saved her, my daughter would have died. Thank you. And that was one of the most powerful moments in my life, when I realized how involved I am with the people's lives that I touch. And here I am now in a different set of rules when it comes to that. Here I am, I have a YouTube channel. And I've realized the same thing. And I take it with the same level of importance. We all touch each other's lives, all of us. It's a two-way street for sure, but not just that. The people that are around you. When you're being authentic, when you're being you, when you're being real, not being a mean, not being a jerk, not being horrible to people, and not just being so ridiculous, because I worship everything you say and do, and you can do no wrong. Like, not from that either. That's not okay. Be authentic. Be you. If someone's being good, call it out. Hey, you're being good. If someone's not, call it out. Hey, you're not. Or behave however. But the important part is we touch other people's lives, there is a ripple effect. And what you're doing to the least of my people, you're doing for me. And what he means also, whenever you help others, you are helping yourself as well. By putting better out in the world and being aware of the fact of our interconnectedness and acknowledging that, it makes the manifesting process even that much easier, because we start to realize that it's points of connection. And when you've bumped into someone random in some weird place, or you've bumped into somebody that worked with somebody that you were just with, or was from the city you were just from, or some weird sort of 6 degrees of separation, you start to realize that we're a lot more connected than one would think. There's billions of us on the planet, but oddly, there's 6 of us that somehow connect back in a circle. Using the degrees of separation, it's actually probably more than that. If it's literally degrees, then it would be, 30, 60 divided by 60 different steps. That's 360 divided by 6, right? I don't know. I don't know what the 6 degrees exactly means. It's a play I saw at one point, but it's a neat little concept how we're all interconnected with each other. When we operate from that standpoint, when we operate from that level of responsibility, you'd be amazed at the way things start to change in your life. So we talk about law of attraction, but there's more to it than just what you think, say, and do. There's more to it than just what your beliefs are. That's most of it. I would say that's a huge part of it, but it's also some of the other stuff that we're putting out into the universe, some of the other things that we're vibrating at on an energetic level. Some of it's the times that you have that opportunity to help that older person across the street, if you will. And when we choose to do so, when we choose to do that good thing, that actually benefits us in other ways, especially when we do that good thing because it feels good to do the good thing. That almost doubly helps you. So again, be aware of what we're putting out. Be aware of the fact that that person that bothers you is connected to you for a reason. Love that person. Figure out a way to love that person. That's really the challenge in this. When you figure out a way to love that person, you heal that thing that's costing you that feeling, that it's blocking you from something. And that's why there's that expression of it. Like, things manifest to show you. A lot of us are like, how can I make things better and faster? Well, that person that frustrates you, that's something to focus on and heal, because whatever it is there, that's part of your problem. I've seen it happen way too many times, where when people fix that small little weird thing that seems unrelated, that seems totally off in right field, but when addressed, oddly affects things over here. I've seen it too many times. Hopefully this makes a difference to you guys. I've really enjoyed this. This is one that popped up, and it really reminded me of something that, in all honesty, was one of those life-changing moments for me. And it was very, very amazing when Ken pulled me aside, and the look in his eyes and the love in his heart. And I'll tell you what, we always got along like we were siblings from that point on. Any frustration, it was always dealt with we're two people that have differing takes on the way things are, but I respect what you've got to say, and I know you respect what I've got to say. And from that place, it's amazing what all of us can learn and the wisdom that we can find. Dan, RadioStyle, thanks for joining me.